Hello, I'm Helen from Journal with Purpose and welcome to my latest YouTube video. I'm really delighted to be taking part in Junk Journal July again, which is hosted by Meg Journals. If you're new to my channel and you found me through this collaboration, then welcome. If you're not sure what Junk Journal July is, then I'll leave the details linked down below so that you can access this prompt list. There'll also be a video playlist where you can see a different creator releasing a video every day. Now, the prompt that I'm going to be working on is number 12 on the list, which is gratitude, one of my absolute favourite topics to journal about. Now, my actual junk journal is very nearly full at the moment, and I haven't had the chance to make another one just yet. So I'm actually going to be working in my altered book today. I haven't done very much in this so far, and it's actually an old gardening book about geraniums, and flowers are one of my favourite things, so I thought that would be perfect. At the moment I don't have it covered at all. I've just put some fabric tape to try and cover some of the damage to the spine to toughen it up a bit. What I'm hoping to do is maybe create another slow stitched cover for it like I did with my last altered book. So I'm really pleased to start doing some more pages in here today. So I've only just started it. And I want to add some watercolour flowers on my page because they're one of the things I'm most grateful for. Seemed perfect in a book about gardening. But I want to make sure that the watercolour is not going to seep through. So I'm going to start off by putting a coat of acrylic gesso on the pages. And I'm just going to do that in the two corners where I'm going to be adding the watercolour, and then I'll get that dried off. Now that coat of gesso is dry, I'm happy that will have primed the page and stopped the watercolour coming through. I'm using this Tropicals set by Prima Marketing, and I'm going to be doing really whimsical flowers. And first of all, when I put the watercolour down, they won't even look like flowers, I imagine. But I'm going to be coming back to add quite a lot of detail to these later on. And I'm going to take the paint straight from the palette today because I want it to be quite pigmented. So for my first flower, I am just going to be doing that kind of wobbly circle shape. I'm just filling in the inside. And whilst it's still wet, I think I'm going to drop a little bit of this reddy colour in the centre. And I'll just let that flow out wherever it wants to go. And I'm going to do the same in the bottom left-hand corner too. I love creating these sorts of flowers with watercolour. I just feel there's just no pressure, just really happy kind of blobs of colour that will turn into flowers later on. And again, I'm going to just drop some of that red in the centre. I'm then going to do some smaller flowers. And this time, I think I might go for this pale blue. And I think I'm going to go for some kind of 5-petaled flowers for these ones, slightly smaller. So again, nothing perfect here. If you are new to watercolours, I would definitely recommend giving this a go. And then I'm just going to pop a little bit of purple in this one. I love how those colours run together, especially seeing as this book's not quite flat because of the way it's been cut with the pages removed. For an altered book, it's just going to be unpredictable, and each of the flowers will end up slightly different. And again, just going to add a little bit of the purple in there. Down here, I think I might do a nice big pink flower in the same way that I did the first yellow ones. Because it was gratitude, I just wanted lots of bright colours. I love vintage style, but I also love bright colours. So just something that makes me feel really happy as soon as I look at the page. And again, I'm going to drop a little bit of the purple in this one. And then I might do another one of those smaller 5-petaled flowers. And then I'm going to finish off by adding some leaves. So I'm starting off with that paler green, and then I'm going to do one in a darker green, and again just let those run into each other. And I think I'll add some more at the top here. These are sorts of flowers that I often add into my Hobonichi planner if I just want to add something really cheerful that I know I'll find relaxing to do. This is definitely one of my favourite ways of just adding that lovely colour. Okay, well I think I'm going to add just another couple of sets of leaves. And then get this dried off so that we can start adding some nice detail to these flowers. If you do decide to have a go and recreate anything from these gratitude pages, I'd absolutely love you to tag me in. I'm at Journal with Purpose over on Instagram, and if you tag me in on the photo itself, I should have a good chance of being able to see it, and obviously use the Junk Journal July hashtag as well. Okay, great. I'm just going to get those all dried off. I'm now going to share how I add details to each of the different types of flowers and leaves, so that if you do want to kind of copy along with what I'm doing, hopefully you'll be able to kind of get a good idea from this. So for the leaves, really simply, I'm using a Staedtler pigment liner. Any kind of black pen would be fine. So I'm just tracing the outside shape of one of the leaves and then drawing a line through it, and then I'll add the detail for the other leaf too. So really simple, but just to add a little bit of detail to those leaves. For the small 5-petaled flower, I make a dot kind of roughly in the centre, and then start adding those petal shapes. And it doesn't matter if it's not perfect, if you've got some little gaps of watercolour around the outside of the petals. I actually think that adds to the look of it. And for the blue ones, I want to add a little bit of white detail as well. So I'm using a white paint pen. This is an extra fine nib from Artistro. If you've got Posca paint pens, or any kind of paint pens, or white gel pens, they'd be fine too. And I'm just going to add some 3 little strands inside each of the petals. I just think it adds such a pretty look. And then for these bigger flowers, I'm going to go back to the black pen again. And somewhere roughly in the centre, I'm going to draw a circle and fill that with some dots. And then I'm going to do 3 petals around it, but I'm doing them kind of slightly wobbly. So I do that until I'm right back to the beginning again. And then I pick the centre of one of those petals and bring it around to somewhere along the next petal. The only thing I try and avoid doing is taking it back into the gaps, as long as it hits the outside bit of the petal somewhere. And I just keep doing these all the way around until I get to the outside of the flower. And I really like these because I think it gives kind of quite a detailed look to the flower, considering what we started with was just an imperfect blob of watercolour, and where we've let those other colours run into each other as well, I just think that helps to give another really interesting look to it. And when I'm doing gratitude journaling, I try and make sure that the whole experience is just really joyful for me, because then it's kind of another thing that I can be grateful for, is just the time that I've been able to spend creating those pages. So I'm now at the outside of the flower. So I'm just going really to roughly where the outside of that watercolour is. And so absolutely nothing here needs to be precise. We're just adding lots of fun, kind of wobbly petals. Okay, so we're nearly there on that now. Just adding the last ones to take it to the outside of the paint. And as you can see, I've still got watercolour coming out of the side of those petals, and I really like that look. Okay, so now you can see how I've added details to each of those, both of those flowers and those leaves. I'm going to carry on and add detail to these in exactly the same way. Now that they're finished, I want to create some writing spots. So I've got some paper that I coffee dyed recently. So I'm going to tear that up and glue it onto my page. And for this, I'm going to use Pritt Stick. I want to try and make sure at least some of that writing on the page is showing too. It's one of my things with altered books. I absolutely love changing them, particularly old ones like this that were falling apart. But where possible, I like to try and keep some of it intact as well, so that I can still get at least a little hint of what was behind whatever I'm now putting on top of it. And I really like rough edges too, so I'm just going to tear along that straighter edge. So I think that will look really nice there. I've still got that writing, and then I'm going to do the same on this side too. I now want to add a simple quote to that left-hand page, and for this I'm going to use a Tombow Fudenosuke brush pen with a firm nib. And now I'm going to add a little bit of this washi tape, I think, onto just a couple of different sides to break up the background of that paper. And because I've got two there, I think I'll add one little strip over here too. I've got these two stamps, both from London Gifties, and I'm going to use some black Stays On ink. I'm not quite sure how well I'm going to get a print because this book is quite wobbly, but hopefully we'll get enough. I'm actually really happy with how that stamping came out. And I'm now going to spend just a couple of minutes jotting down on here some of the things that I'm really grateful for at the moment. Well, that is my journal writing now all complete. I'm really happy with those gratitude pages. I hope you like them too. So please do tag me in on Instagram if you create anything like this, or just to share with me how you've approached that gratitude prompt. Don't forget to have a look at that playlist of everybody else that's taken part if you haven't done already. It's just such a lovely project. So thank you, Meg, for again inviting me to take part. As always, I want to say a massive thank you to everybody who's joined me over on Patreon. Thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you're doing really well. I look forward to speaking with you in my next video really soon.